The wind carried dust across the dry plains near the Yarmouk Valley. 4 days, two massive forces had faced each other, waiting, watching, calculating. On one side stood the army of the Byzantine Empire, a superpower that had ruled these lands for centuries. On the other stood a determined force from the Arabian Peninsula, smaller in number, but unified, mobile, and led by commanders who understood exactly how to fight this kind of war. Then the battle began. What followed was not just another military encounter. It was a turning point that would reshape the future of an entire region. Welcome to the channel. In today's documentary, we explore the full story of the Battle of Yarmouk, how it began, how it was fought, and why its outcome changed history. The world before Yarmouk. To understand Yarmouk, you have to understand what came before it. For decades, the Byzantine Empire and the Sasanian Empire had been locked in one of the longest and most destructive conflicts of the early medieval world. Cities were destroyed, economies were drained, armies were stretched to their limits. By the time Emperor Heraclius finally secured victory over the Persians, the Byzantine Empire had technically won, but at a heavy cost. The empire was exhausted. Its provinces, especially in Syria and the Levant, were vulnerable. And at that exact moment, a new force was rising. The rise of a new power. Following the unification of Arabia, Muslim armies began moving north into Byzantine-controlled territories. At first, these movements were seen as limited incursions, but they quickly became something much larger. Several Muslim armies entered Syria, capturing key locations and forcing the Byzantines to respond. Realizing the seriousness of the situation, the Byzantine leadership began preparing for a decisive confrontation. The gathering of armies. The Byzantine Empire assembled a large, multi-ethnic force. It included professional soldiers, regional units, and allied contingents from across the empire. Their goal was simple: stop the Muslim advance and regain full control of Syria. Facing them was a smaller but highly coordinated Muslim army. Among its most prominent commanders was Khalid ibn al-Walid, a leader known for his speed, adaptability, and battlefield awareness. Rather than relying on numbers, the Muslim forces relied on discipline, mobility, and strategic positioning. The battlefield. The two armies eventually met near the Yarmouk Valley, close to what is today the border region between Syria and Jordan. The terrain was harsh. Open plains were interrupted by ravines and steep drops. This was not just a battlefield, it was a place where movement, positioning, and timing could decide everything. The beginning of the battle did not end in a single day. It unfolded over several days of intense fighting. Both sides tested each other, probing defenses, launching attacks, and adjusting strategies. The Byzantines attempted to use their numbers to pressure the Muslim lines, but the Muslim commanders avoided being overwhelmed. Instead, they relied on controlled withdrawals, regrouping, and counterattacks. The turning point. As the days passed, one pattern became clear. Whenever pressure increased on one part of the Muslim line, mobile cavalry units would move quickly to reinforce it. This flexibility prevented a complete collapse. At critical moments, coordinated counterattacks pushed the Byzantine forces back. Gradually, their formations began to lose cohesion. Once discipline started to break, it became increasingly difficult for the Byzantine army to maintain control. Leadership and strategy. Much of the battle's outcome is often linked to leadership. Commanders like Khalid ibn al-Walid emphasized coordination and timing. Instead of fighting a static battle, they treated the battlefield as a constantly changing environment. Decisions were made quickly. Units were repositioned rapidly. Opportunities were exploited the moment they appeared. On the other side, the Byzantine army struggled to maintain unified command across a large and diverse force. This difference became more visible as the battle progressed. The collapse. In the final phase of the battle, the Byzantine lines began to give way. Retreat turned into disorder, and disorder turned into collapse. The geography of the battlefield made retreat difficult. Many units were pushed toward dangerous terrain, where escape became nearly impossible. By the end of the battle, the Byzantine army had suffered a decisive defeat. Casualties and historical caution. As with many ancient battles, casualty numbers vary widely across sources. Some accounts exaggerate the scale of losses. Modern historians approach these numbers with caution. What is generally agreed upon is this: the Byzantine army suffered heavy losses and was forced to abandon control of much of Syria. The consequences of Yarmouk were immediate and far-reaching. The Byzantine Empire lost one of its most important regions. Cities that had been under imperial control for centuries now changed hands. The balance of power in the Middle East shifted permanently. Yarmouk was not just a victory, it was a transformation. The Battle of Yarmouk offers several important lessons. First, numbers alone do not guarantee victory. Second, leadership, coordination, and adaptability can outweigh size. Third, even the most powerful empires can weaken over time, especially after long periods of war. History is often shaped by moments when everything changes in a matter of days. Yarmouk was one of those moments. An empire that had dominated the region for centuries lost its hold, while a new power began to rise. But here is the question that still remains. Was the outcome of Yarmouk mainly the result of brilliant leadership and strategy, or was it the inevitable collapse of an empire that had already been weakened by years of exhausting war? Tell us what you think. If you enjoyed this documentary and want to see more stories like this, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others who are interested in history.